Hello, No Borders NVDR followers. Joseph Snyder, CEO of No Borders, coming to you today on this beautiful August afternoon. It is August 15th, and we are currently just working through so many different things. We just released our Q2 financials yesterday, I believe, or the day before, a couple of days early. Just got all of that done. I apologize for my voice. I do have a little bit of a cold. I've been traveling a lot lately, doing a ton of work around the country, lots of No Borders Naturals events and lots of things. So been running around like crazy, and I do have a bit of a cold today, so bear with me. But we are going to get through this and have a good time. Today, what I wanted to do was I wanted to unpack a little bit about the Q2 financials that we just filed. I know that a lot of people kind of skimmed through those, and so I wanted to hit on some of the points that I thought were salient and important. As well as talk about some of the things that we're doing and some of the things that we're working on and focused on as we move through Q3. You know, we're currently, today marks the halfway point through Q3, and things are chugging along, going very, very well for our different brands and subsidiaries. And so wanted to take a cycle and touch base with you guys. Thank you all for tuning in and following our journey as we go about this public company journey that we started a couple of years ago and that we continue to push through and have a great time with. So this has been a dream of mine since I was young. Yes, I know I'm super weird. That's okay. And so to do this is something that is a passion project of mine, and we are playing multiple games in multiple verticals at the same time and having a great time doing it. So one of those things that we get to play with is the engagement and the relationship that we have with the market and with you guys, our investors and interested parties. And so thank you guys again for taking the time to pay attention to these videos and listen to me ramble on the internet. I appreciate it more than you know. So so like I said, bear with me as I have a little bit of cough here. I do have a cold today, and we're working through it. So if you see me sweating, it's not just because it's bloody hot outside, which it is. I'm currently in Southern California. I know in Phoenix today, it's really, really hot. So I'm happy to be here instead of there. Even still, it's in the high 90s here in California today. So it's cooking, and my Huskies are racked out in front of the AC vents, just staying as cool as they can. But we're having a good time. So to start, I actually wanted to talk about something that's maybe more of an ideology, maybe more of a mental reality for us than necessarily, you know, digging into numbers or digging into the business plans and things like that. And what I wanted to talk about a little bit was the idea of sowing and reaping. And, you know, in the OTC market, there's this great demand for, in life in general, we're human, right? We want instant gratification. We want instant results in the things that we do. Me more than anybody else, let me tell you. I want it all done faster. I want it all done yesterday, and I don't know why we didn't do it 10 times as big as we did. And so with that being said, you know, one of the things that Chris Brown, our CTO, and myself do and have done for a number of years is we make our own compost here on the property in California. And so what goes into that is, and this will be the fourth year on this property that we've got an active composting system in place. And what we do there is, I have some goats here on the property. I have 3 goats. We have Oreo, Storm, and Princess Peach. They're amazing. I don't know if any of you have ever dealt with goats before. No, I don't do goat yoga. Yes, I do yoga. I know y'all know that. Nick Harrington, I've tortured with hot yoga all over the country. He is now a rabid fan of hot yoga and yoga in general. So I do yoga, and I do have goats. I have never merged those two things, and maybe I should try. I don't know. But anyway, we do have 3 goats, Oreo, Storm, and Princess Peach. And they're Nigerian dwarf and pygmy goats, respectively. And phenomenal pets. They're just pets. We don't milk them. We may breed Princess Peach this year. That is possible, but we don't milk the goats. We don't do anything like that. Oreo and Storm are both fixed males. Princess Peach is a registered breedable female goat. She's actually had a kid the year. I'm getting off into the weeds about goats, so I apologize. But long story short, we have the goats here on the property. The goats provide us with goat manure and straw and all this kind of stuff that comes out of the pens and the paddock, and that goes into the compost pile. Additionally, my family, we are very conscientious about putting all of our eggshells and strawberry tops and all of our compostable food scraps and things, bits of meat and bits of fat, and bits of all kinds of things, into our compost bag next to our trash bag instead of the trash can. And so, I've been able to teach my children that these things are valuable to us and can be reused in an understandable closed loop environment. It's not some esoteric thing that, we're sticking this in a blue bin and then somebody else handles it and recycles it. And I don't know if any of you have been following any of the issues that go on with plastics recycling around the world, where China essentially stopped accepting trash plastics. And so the US and the UK and the Europeans started shipping this to Indonesia, and you ended up with just hundreds of containers full of trash sitting in Indonesia, and the Indonesian government going, hey, we don't want this stuff either. And so there's this problem on the recycling end that goes on there. So what we've done is a microcosm of matter recycling here on our property. So all of our goat manure, all of our straw, all of our lawn clippings, all of our food scraps go into this composting system. We have about 2 to 3 tons of compost running at any given time. So it's not a small piece of compost. It's a large operation back there. And that system turns out incredible soil. Absolutely incredible soil. I will add one more thing, because I found out many people don't know this. One thing that we add to our compost very consistently is I go to Starbucks about once a week and I ask them for composting grounds. So if you are interested in composting, if you are interested in gardening, I know you came to watch a shareholder video. I'm getting there. If you are interested in gardening, if you are interested in composting, go to your local Starbucks. They have green bags full of their used coffee grounds, their pressed coffee grounds. And they'll give them to you for free. They have them in these green compostable bags. They give them to anybody who walks in and asks for them. I get about 60 pounds of coffee grounds a week that also goes into our composting system. And that's very impactful, hugely nutritious for plants, and a fantastic way to recycle our community's used materials in a proactive way here on the property. With that being said, what comes out of that compost is some of the richest soil that I've ever seen. We have we've put 10,000 red earthworms into the composting system. We have a bunch of mycelium in the system, mushrooms and things like that, that have gone in there and helped to break all of these things down and turn it into delicious fertilizer for our fields. And what we do then is, at the beginning of the season in the spring, we go and we turn the compost pile again. We remove a quantity of soil from the composting system, and we till that into the garden beds in the back and the side and the front of the property, where we grow all kinds of amazing things. And we use no external fertilizer at this point. Again, we're 4 years into this. And this conversation was not about goats, and it was not about compost, and it was not about worms. It was about sowing and tending and reaping. And the reason that I bring that up is we as humans are predisposed to wanting an instantaneous result. We are predisposed to wanting our cake and eating it too, and wanting it immediately. And I get that. But the reality is that Chris and I are now 4th year into this particular composting ecosystem that we've built. Our plants, our gardens, our crops use no external fertilizer whatsoever. It's the 2nd year in a row that we've needed no external fertilizer. We have continued to feed and fertilize the plants throughout the growing season. That's the tending part, with additional compost from our composting system. And what is coming out of our gardens is truly incredible. What we get to reap from our work, from our planting, from our harvest, from our tending, from our composting, this is what we get to reap. We get to reap amazing rewards, delicious, nutritious, massive rewards from the work that we put in. Absolutely beautiful, amazing. And I got all kinds. I got pounds and pounds of peppers. We give away hundreds of pounds of fresh food around our community, out of our gardens. We have raspberries and strawberries and dozens of kinds of peppers and dozens of kinds of squash and corn and tomatoes and potatoes and sweet potatoes and radishes and watermelons and cantaloupes and all kinds of crazy things. Those things come from our work that we put in 4 years ago. This composting system started 4 years ago. This tilling and planting and sowing and tending started 4 years ago. Now, this year's harvest started about 6 or 7 months ago, but the seeds for it were sown years ago. And some of the gardens that we get today are actually seeds coming up out of the compost from stuff that we put in there last year. You know, some of these plants that are right here, this one in particular, this is like a star squash. And actually, you should really pick these actually when they're a bit smaller. They get a little bit woody when they get real big. And this isn't a real big one, but this is a decent size one. We didn't actually plant these this year. We had a ton of them last year, so much so that as delicious as they are, by the way, you chop this up and you grill it with some garlic, some olive oil, a little bit of salt and pepper. I mean, this is fantastic. But we had so much of it last year that this year we went, you know what, let's try a different squash. We had a lot of this last year. And our friends ate a lot of this last year. And lo and behold, the compost pile gave us more. Because as we till that back into the soil, those seeds are there and they're germinated and they're ready to go. And so we get surprise plants in our garden. You get surprise wins that come out of having tended and having cared for and having put the time and the effort in to taking care of your land, taking care of your crop and tending it. And then you get not only the results that you were expecting, not only the things that you planted, but we get these additional ancillary wins as well. We get these additional plants. I've got Roma tomatoes. I've got these star squash. I've got a whole bunch of stuff that we didn't even plant this year that we're getting yield and results from, and then I get to feed my family. And I talk about that sowing and reaping because it's a core tenet to what we're doing here at No Borders. You know, the idea that we're going to have some wild one-off thing that all of a sudden changes everybody's life and everything else is a misnomer. Most people that win the lottery are broke within 5 years. And the reason why is that they don't have the basis for sustaining that kind of growth. They don't have the basic structures needed to support the kind of growth, the weight of the growth that comes from scaling things up and tending things and building systems and operations over time. That's what we're focused on doing right now. Growth is a key focus of what we're doing. And coming over to talk about Q2 financials, you know, growth is a big part of how we are hold on one sec, guys. Sorry. I'm doing shareholder video. It would help if I could spell video. Sorry, my phone is blowing up because there's a whole bunch of people that need tending. So I'm going to get back to that in just a minute, but let's tell them to hold on a second. We're building the systems and the foundations. As we look at our Q2 fins, I'm very proud of what we did in Q2. We essentially had 100% quarter-over-quarter revenue growth between our brands. That's fantastic. moving that forward, continuing that, we have to be able to continue that with a basis of systems and infrastructure that supports it long term. We have to be able to feed the compost pile nutritious things and let that work, and then pull those things out and utilize them. Sow, tend, reap. No Borders is beginning to reap. We're beginning to see scaled results coming back from the efforts that we put in 2 years ago, from the efforts that we put in a year ago, from the moves that we made and the brands that we launched and the efforts that we've taken over the last 9 months. That reaping scales out. My squash weren't that big 2 years ago. The compost needed time to mature. We needed time to get 2 or 3 layers of compost tilled into the soil, so there was a base nutritional value there. I live in the California, Southern California mountains north of Los Angeles. This is all decomposed granite. There's no nutrients in this soil. You got to build that stuff up. We're doing that with No Borders. We're doing it consistently. We're doing it, excuse me, we're doing it well. And the brands that we are building, the products that we are bringing to market are beautiful. They work. People love them. When people use them, they buy them again and again. We're building the base for scaled success and scalable success. And we're beginning to reap the initial rewards from that, like having 100% quarter-over-quarter revenue growth from Q1 to Q2, and having the growth that we've continued to have into Q3, which is fantastic and is we're firing on all 8 cylinders. We are growing our teams. We are growing our operations. We are growing the focus sets within the verticals that we're already in. And of course, you guys know I'm looking at other verticals. We are looking at that. But we've not done a couple of small deals over the last 6 months because I really felt that we needed to take the time to get the rest of the systems and operations around No Borders Naturals and MetaNet Supplies, specifically as my 2 main examples, really fundamentally solid, and to where they could grow and increase and scale sustainably and effectively without breaking, right? These are important things. If you grow a squash, if you try to accelerate the growth of this thing, they split. They can get very, very large, and they can get very large very quickly, but you have to feed them the right things, and you have to maintain them, and you have to tend them. And a business is the same way. And that's why I brought these out here today as a visual example. This I get to show my kids. I get to say, look, girls, we put our eggshells, we put our kitchen scraps into the soil, and we tended it, and what we got out was these amazing, tangible, edible, delicious results. That's fantastic. That's fantastic. And I carry that example over to them with business. Both of my daughters have their own Etsy stores. They both make crafts and things and sell them online. My wife is an entrepreneur all to herself. This is a culture that our family believes in, and these are results that are tangible. No Borders is beginning to experience those results from the work that we've put in, and we're very, very proud of that. A couple of things that we've done. One of the things that you can see in the financials, on top of the revenue growth, is that we made a deal on our MetaNet Supplies subsidiary, No Borders Dental, and our education subsidiary to acquire an additional 5% of each of those companies from the people that we started those businesses with or acquired those businesses from. So the reason that was done was primarily for tax purposes, but it's a good deal for us as a company. We structured those deals, and you guys know I'm a deal structure guy. I'm looking for deals out there, and I'll use all the tools in our ecosystem. It's a main reason why we went public, was to have an additional toolkit for doing deals. And, we structured those deals, by giving those folks equity in those subsidiaries. We ran into a tax issue where in order for us to file consolidated taxes, we have to have a certain layer percentage of ownership of those subsidiaries. So we did make a deal. It was driven primarily by tax reasons for us to do that. But what we did was we issued a small number of NBDR restricted common stock to acquire 5% of each of those subsidiaries. So that puts us as NBDR, as No Borders Inc., as an 80% owner of MetaNet Supplies and an 80% owner of No Borders Education instead of a 75% owner. So kicks up the ownership that our holding company has in those entities, gives a little bit of restricted common stock to each of those parties, so that they have a multiple tiered value proposition for themselves. And I think that's a win-win all the way around. These little moves happen because, we've got tax advisors and things like that, and different people come back and say, hey, we need to do this over here. We need to do that over there. Cool. We'll make that happen. We'll make those things work. And in the process, hey, now we own 80% of that instead of 75. Love that. So, these moves that we're making are really multifaceted. I know that somebody on Twitter said a week or so ago, like, oh, Joe isn't tweeting. He's been really quiet. And I want to thank Fitness Mama for coming to my defense there and saying, hey, this guy is busy. This guy is flying all over the country. We're doing No Borders Naturals events. We're doing all these different things. He's staying on top of the communications. He hasn't missed a video yet. Like, what do you want? And so thank you, Fitness Mama. I appreciate you standing up for me there. And you're absolutely right. I think this is the second time since we've had No Borders that I've gotten a cold. So, there is a point where you just push so hard and push so hard and push so hard that your body goes, hey man, just sleep for a little bit. So that's cool. I am here at my home office this week. I'm back on the road next week for a bunch of different things. But I am here this week. So I am going to take care of myself, drink a lot of orange juice, drink a lot of hot tea with honey in it. This happens to be coffee because America. But I am very, very busy. Our teams are working very, very hard. We are on the ground attacking. We have not let up one little bit. And that ultimately yields the results that we're looking to reap. We've sown the seeds. We've built the brands. We've built the product lines. We're tending the garden as voraciously as we can. And I'm hella proud. And yeah, that's Northern California leaking out right there, y'all. I'm hella proud of the work that our teams have done. The amount of work, the amount of momentum that we have impacted with the little amount of capital that we've actually burned through in the last year and a half is truly phenomenal. I mean, truly, truly, truly phenomenal. I read 2 stories in the last 2 days that blew my mind. Number one was that Uber had sent an email to their team saying, we're no longer buying balloons for your guys' anniversaries, and that's going to save our our San Francisco office $200,000 a year. So we're cutting costs. And the second one was a startup that had gotten $30 million in funding from the founder of WeWork. And the day WeWork filed their IPO, I think last week, that startup filed for bankruptcy protection in London. And I thought, both of those things just kind of blow my mind. How can an operation be so lost at the executive level? And by the way, I know how. It's because they hire a bunch of MBAs from a bunch of prestigious ass schools who've never done shit in business. I could put a team of these MBA jerks in a room and they'd never come up with a good idea ever, but fuck, they'd spend a lot of money. They'd spend a ton of money doing it and they'd never get anything done. So for the record, I know I'm going to hear it from all the Yale and Harvard guys, whatever. Cool. No, look, I respect your overpriced education. That's cool. But mine came from the streets and mine's more effective. Sorry. So you can work for me. That's cool. Have a nice day. Uber's not going to get out of the hole by stopping buying balloons. That's a dumb thing to do. It's a smart thing to do. Don't spend $200,000 a year on balloons as a company that's losing money. Yeah, no, we're on the same page, right? But I would start there. I wouldn't get there after my $5 billion loss, right? So that's crazy. A company has to build infrastructure and revenue systems that pay for the things that the company wants to do. We bring on capital in order to scale those things and deploy those things and impact future tangible profits. To simply add capital and add capital and add capital and never build out the systems for scaled profit generation, never contain your costs, operate lean while you are getting those systems built out so that you can use your own revenues and capital generation to further scale in the future, even if you do need to take capital, right? We're public for a reason. Accessing capital, using our public stock to do acquisitions, to gain market access, to gain customer book, to gain revenue values. Those are powerful things. Those are powerful tools. But to accept a $30 million investment from somebody and then run around the world throwing parties and opening innovation centers where lots of people with lots of paper behind their name get to sit around and jerk each other off in meetings all day is fucking crazy to me. It blows my mind. We've done everything we've done, and I want to be careful on the numbers because I'm not, I don't have them in front of me and I'm winging this right now, so I apologize, but I'm less than $1 million total. You know, we're kicking ass and taking names as far as I'm concerned. And there's things that I'm attacking within that, right? If you look at our Q2 fins, I am not thrilled with our, I'm not thrilled with our gross margin. You know, I think that our cost of goods sold versus our top line revenue was off in Q2. There's a couple of reasons for it. I know what they are. We're addressing them. We're addressing them aggressively. One of them is that we did do an enterprise deal with AT Stills University for some medical equipment. And if I'm totally honest, and it was me, I'm the one that set that pricing. I did that deal once we got into it. You know, I think that we left some money on the table on that deal. And we've looked really closely at that. It was a good deal for us. It was a good revenue generator for us. It's a fantastic relationship for us. AT Stills has dental campuses all over the country. It's a fantastic organization. And we look forward to doing lots and lots of business with them. But we also have to be very mindful of making sure that we have the margins that we need in order to support the growth that we want to support and do the things that we want to do. Luckily for us, and not on accident, we picked several high margin businesses to be in. And so we do have the ability to fix that rather quickly. And like I said, we're focused on how we do that, and we have the ways in front of us. You know, we were incentive heavy last quarter for naturals. We were incentive heavy for Medident, you know, pushing growth and things like that. Q3, we're really focused on increasing those gross margins and doing a little bit less on the deal side and doing a little bit less on the discounts that may be given for enterprise. And by the way, we're attacking enterprise aggressively. We have a team of people. As a matter of fact, I'm supposed to be meeting with them in 1 minute, so I'm going to wrap this up. We've got a team of people that are completely focused on submitting proposals to these universities and these government agencies for medical equipment and supplies. We have an entire team focused on naturals wholesale, locations and signing up. You know, we are getting, I don't know the numbers, but lots, at least, 5 or 10 inbound leads a day coming in for naturals wholesale of retailers around the country coming in through the portal and saying, I want to sign up. I want to be a wholesaler. What are the terms? What's going on? How do I get set up? So we've got a team of people working on that. Both of those areas are scalable areas for us. We also have the aggressive pop-up store events for naturals going on all over the country. I mean, Nick and Hope and Brandon and myself and my family, my wife and my kids have all gone all over the place and taken naturals products directly to market with great success. You know, the sell-through that we get at pop-up stores is fantastic. The engagement that we get is fantastic. The repeat orders and reorders that we see on the data maps that Chris and his teams have post event are just phenomenal. And we're pushing forward on those things because we are building that infrastructure. We're building those systems, and that is generating higher and higher revenues. And like I said, right now we're definitely focused on it generating higher and higher profits as well. So we're working really hard. We do have some additional news coming. I've got some things that we're going to be sharing next week around intellectual property, around trademarks, around some different things that are going on. We're having a fantastic time. I appreciate you guys coming and being interested in what we're doing. We are building the base for the long-term success that we want for No Borders and for NBDR. And I'm very, very proud of that. I'm very grateful for all of you guys coming in and sharing your time and taking the time to listen to this and to check out our company. So again, No Borders, nbdr.co is the official company website, nobordersnaturals.com, medanetsupplies.com. As always, ticker symbol NBDR on the OTC markets. I am Joe Snyder, CEO of No Borders. Thank you again so much for all of your time, all of your energy, all of your input into what we're doing. I do appreciate you, and have a wonderful August.